So I think you said the other day that you think it's bear market now, or things are looking really bearish. And so I said, you think it's a bear market now? Then you said, I hope not. I trust you and have a lot of respect for blah, 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 I've been blah, 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 blah. But I don't want to ignore the warning signs like we did back in early 2018 when we hoped the markets would rebound quickly after the peak, and even more recently in April 21 when we missed the initial crash. In hindsight, it was obvious with base support being breached. We haven't had alt season, and without QE, it's not coming anytime soon. Things are without a doubt different this time, and the playbook isn't as obvious as we'd hoped. Yeah, we're still in the game, but if Bitcoin breaches this trend line, then I may have to call this run over for now, and we'll have to wait until next year. Once QE starts, the effects won't be immediate, and it'll take time for that money to trickle into crypto and alt. So let's get um, this open. So Bitcoin. Oh, why has the charts changed? Okay, so your picture is is that okay, so let's find wait a minute. Let's open up this. Maybe it's a clearer picture there. Sorry, I'm trying. Where is it? I thought the chart would be a look. Here we go. So you got the okay, so you got that support level. Yeah, it's a valid support level. So you're taking from sort of that low of 2023. I'm going to open up a different Bitcoin chart. Not that one. This one. This one. And just delete all the doodles. Okay, so bottom of 23 brings us to this one here. So if I was just charting this up, we've definitely got something there. We've definitely got something going along here. I would say it's more like that. And then what I would actually do with this one is Control C, Control V, because you always have parallels. And lo and behold, that is a pretty good parallel resistance there. And then I tend to put a thinner one in the middle because there's always going to be like some sort of mean. So if we make this dashed, so let's just call that the mean for that particular channel. So if it breaches this level, we're looking at sub 95K. And from a technical perspective, yeah, I've got no qualms in that analysis. I'm just going to the 3-day chart just so I can it's a bit clearer. I can bunch it up a bit more. Yeah, so I wouldn't be calling it the bear market just yet. Like if we look at again, I'm always hesitant using the word fractal, but if we were just to take this fractal here, I'm pretty sure we're going to see a similar situation where it will play the same sort of thing will happen here. Because guess what? We go back a bit. I remember clear as day towards the beginning of this year, I was fielding a few trading pubs where certain people were going, "Oh, it's the bear market. It's the bear market. It's the bear market. It's crashed. At the time, what was happening is people were going, Siam, it's your angular step changes with base support. They're doing this. Let's get out of that. I'll just make it red for now. They're like, here's your, angular step change and base support. It's breached this. It's definitely bear market. Because it ran up hard, peaked just above 100, and there were some te classic telltale signs here because you had crazy, it looked vertical because you could, in theory, drawn some sort of a steeper support level like here, going, Simon, this is your angular step change. It's breached that. It's broken this, and not only did it hit sort of 108, it then breached it here. So this is you nearly always see this before a bit of a sell-off where the previous highs just spiked because a lot of people put their stop losses just beyond the highs. So people hunt the stop loss and then they let it crash. And then for the best part of a couple of weeks, people, I had some people go, "Oh, it's bear market." And then what happened is, in no time at all, we run up into brand new highs. So personally, the way I see things, and again, this is just, everyone has an opinion. Um, I think a very similar thing will happen. Like the market makers are getting a lot smarter these days. Um, and they will know that, like every self-taught trader or retail trader under the sun is getting much more averse to, basic trading patterns, support and resistance, dub tops, all that sort of stuff. Like if you were to take the IQ of a retail crypto person now, in terms or the knowledge base now compared to the knowledge base of retail in 2017, everyone is way smarter now. I would say there's millions, tens of millions of people that are more familiar with charts now than they were in 2017. And so the big market makers will be looking at the chart like this and go, oh, okay, this is a key level of support. Every man and his dog will be looking at that level of support. Very much like if we can, oops, no, if I control C and V this, if we go back a bit and go, oh, okay, what is the key level here? Well, everyone is going to be looking at that 92K level. So let's just ram it below there. We'll probably Kobo it and we'll shake as many people off. And then if we consolidate it below here, a lot of people are going to think, oh, bullish, bearish rectangle is game over. And then what do? A load of people would have seen this little low here at 76 and they would probably put their stop loss just below 76K. So what do? They stop hunt it, they spike everyone out, and then they send it to brand new all-time highs. And it actually created a bit of a double bottom. And we're seeing these sort of like mini bottoms, just before we launch. Now, fast forward to now, I think the same playbook. Like I think Trump and his crony friends and all that, they're playing with us like putty. Um, And, there are a lot of things I like about Trump. There's also a lot of things I don't like about Trump. So don't think oh my God. Oh, I'm so sorry. Someone's at the gate. Ah. Oh, here you go. Sorry, I don't think Ellie was home. She's at home. She got it. Yeah, so I think they're all looking at this level now and going, huh, idiots. Let's just do the same magic playbook. Let's do more tree shaking because ultimately I think the big boys are running out of Bitcoin to buy. So the I'm so unfit. Just running across the landing has put me out. I think they're running out of supply because the ETFs yeah, or despite the last minute dumping, they I think they find it hard to source Bitcoin because there's now over 100 Bitcoin strategic reserve companies. And so creating a bit of a sell-off, guess what? Creates liquidity and creates more supply for them to gobble up. And I think what will happen is something very similar. So if I get my little doodle, let's go to the daily chart now. Actually, I stick to the 3 day. I quite like the 3 day. You can get a lot of data in. So I believe this is what's going to happen. I think we're most likely going to probably. Oh, it's gone backwards. Damn it. I'll leave that there. No. It'll be a bit. That's the first bit. Then uh, maybe up to here before bringing that down. And I do think we're going to create another bit of a bottom. Whether it's a double bottom or a triple bottom, who knows? Ah, no, let's get rid of that last bit. So I think, can I squeeze these? Sorry, one second. Hmm, that's that bit. Sorry. I'll just leave it like that for now. This is what I'm expecting personally. And I'll explain reasons that sort of the bigger macro reasons why I believe that. Um, so that's how I see things. And if we go back to our old doodles, so obviously doodles like this, they have an expiry date. So when I did these doodles, we go to the daily chart. I did them around, I don't know, 28th of June. And then those doodles were pretty much spot on until October, 6th of October. And that's when we had the Trump tariff thing. So, it was spot on until that point. And this is why I say doodles like this, forecasts always have sell by dates, etc., etc. But up until that point, it was pretty bang on in terms of how market structure. I genuinely believe what's happened recently is more of an artificial manipulation of price. So the so if we go back, yeah. So let's go. Let's talk about the reasons why. And I hear people making random sex noises. So I'm going to mute everyone. There we go. Everyone is muted. Um, so let's find different. Ah, dear Lord, come on. Let's talk about the macro. Here we go. Mm, mm, mm. It's taken a while to get my head back in the game. Like I went for a 1 week holiday. Just it was like a last minute thing. And 1 week in BitTensor is like 75 years. Especially they made brand new rate emission changes. Sorry, emissions changes during that. And then the whole US government shutdown was happening. I literally went for a holiday at the worst possible timing, but it was because of school half term and all that. Anyway, so let's here's what I think will happen. So right now, based on what we've just chatted about, everyone is scared. Let's just say tree shake is working. Um, Now, a lot of this year, I have mentioned the figure of the $9.2 trillion worth of debt, the US national debt that needed to be rolled over, a big chunk of it by September. Um, that is still there, by the way. It's put, yeah. They've serviced immediate debt, but pushed stuff back, let's just say. So it hasn't been solved, but what they've done is that they've temporarily they've pushed all sorts of debts back. So it's less of an emergency as it was back. But because it's still there, it still means that we do need this massive liquidity to come in, as in not QE or some form of QE or whatever they want to call it, quantitative support or economic easing. They'll call it EE or so, I don't know. But it is still there. So what's happened is that we had the tariff wobble. We were like, hey, tariff slash China timed, and I think it's a good timed tree shake. Let's just call it TS for tree shake. Like everyone knows that the moment Trump mentions the word China or tariff, he knew that the market was going to get nuked. In fact, we did know that because like half an hour before that was announced, we had that mysterious shorter that made something like $200 million in like half an hour or something stupid like that. I can't remember the exact details. So like this was definitely planned. Someone close to the cabinet made a shit ton of money shorting that information. And at the same time, the government shut down. Government shut down. So this is this is like 30 odd days of government shutdown. Now, what this means is that tap has been turned off. Now, I used to do a lot of mergers and acquisitions, and I've been in this same boat. And here is the equivalent of what's happened. I used to buy and sell distressed businesses, and I used to try and turn them around. And what would happen is I'd go into a company that I knew nothing of in an industry that I've never, had zero involvement in. And I'd go, right, I get all the numbers. I go, what's the income, outgoings, all that sort of stuff. What are the obligations? What are the debts? What are the immediate? And I'd create this sort of 6 week cash flow forecast of what is going out, etc., etc. But one of the first things you do when you take over a distressed business is that you need a payment window. So I then used to write to every single debtor and every single supplier that this company was using or owed money to, and going, hey, this is XYZ company. We've just taken over this business. We want to save as many staff as possible. We want to blah 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 blah. However, we know nothing about its existing obligations, yada yada yada. So we want to pay you back. We're not trying to get out of anything, but we need to see where the dust settles. We need blah blah blah. So it would be highly appreciative if you can accept or not accept. I forgot how I worded it. It would be something like, um, as a matter of course with M&A, I'm going to pause all spending because we don't know whether we're insolvent and you cannot knowingly trade. So you cannot trade whilst knowingly insolvent. And so you'd say, right, in order to not break any laws, we're going to stop all trade. We're stopping everything, which means no income, no payments going out. And please give us 30 days to figure things out. And then in 30 days time, and you keep an ongoing level of sort of communication with people that you owe. So what you've done is you've given yourself some breathing space while you sort shit out. You highlight things that you're definitely going to cut. You know whether you're insolvent or not, blah blah blah. Or if you are insolvent, you then put it into administration and go down that process. But what happens is that everything stops. And unfortunately, like payroll stops, like everything is stopped. And what's happening with the US government right now is effectively that. When the US government shuts down, everything shuts down. Salaries, you see all these like national parks closing down. Why is that? Because the rangers aren't getting paid. Like employees of the government are not getting paid, so stuff shuts down. And what happens when you suddenly just stop paying tens of millions of people, you have an immediate GDP crashing in local villages, local towns, cities, and then countrywide. So when you're not paying your employees or your government civil servants, you're not paying your contractors, you're not paying anyone, or very little. It's like a skeleton amount of payments that go out when the US government shut down. So I mean, some people are calling it quantitative tightening. Technically, it is, but during a government shutdown, it's like QT, quantitative tightening on steroids, because literally nothing goes out. There is no one in the office to sign the checks, to press, to log into the system, to send the X billion dollars to blah. And so you have this mini credit crunch. And that is what everyone is experiencing right now. And it's like, oh my God, it's like 2008 again. And you get this credit freeze, but it's temporary. So I don't, like, I haven't stayed too much on top of US politics and US stuff recently because I'm still trying to get my head around the detail changes that are happening at the same time. But here's what will happen. Share my screen again. So the um yeah, so we can see this with the Treasury General account sort of rising, and at the same time you sort of see plus liquidity everywhere freezing. So let's have a look at the TJ. The Treasury General account is um, basically the US main checking account. Where is it? It's Watragen. Here we go. So as I've put over here, it's the primary operational account of the US Treasury at the Fed. Virtually all US government disbursements are made from this account. Some tax receipts, primary, individual, and other tax payments made directly to the Treasury are deposited in this account and it's also used to collect funds from sales of treasury debt. Okay, so this is their main current account. Look what's happened. So you had the COVID stuff where we had a bit of a government freezing and no one knew what was going on, and so you had the TJ suddenly building up. And then what happened? Like t summer 2020, the government was like, "Holy shit, we need to spend." So you saw the TJ get massively withdrawn over the next sort of year. And what did we see during this time? Massive QE or currency injections, whatever you want to call it. There was liquidity. And that's why most stock markets and everything pumped during mid 2020 onwards. And so what's happening now with this government sort of pausing is this systematic growth where stuff is still trickling in, but nothing is being spent. And I don't know how long it's going to last for, whether it's a week, a day. I don't, to be honest, I don't care. It could last 2 weeks for all I care. But when the government turns on, what do you think is going to happen? The spending will begin. So, um, when the government opens, what are we going to get? I need a bit more space. So we've got spending resumes at an increased tempo. You've got, yeah, slash whatever you want to call it, QT stops. Like this QT is not like a policy thing. It's not like a policy that Biden had for most of his administration of quantitative tightening. It's more of an indirect QT, really. Um, and when this, we've got T-bills will start to be issued again because US is not they're not selling any debt. In fact, I haven't actually looked at Tether, but the Tether chart should, in theory, be going sideways or depleting or like slowing down. Where is Tether? Tether. USDT. There we go. Look at that. Like clockwork. Because the US government is not issuing any treasury bonds. And who is the world's biggest buyer of US treasury bonds? Tether. So guess what? This is going sideways, so they're not creating any more Tether out of its arse because they're not buying any more T-bonds. And like we've seen in any pause of Tether issuance, look at this. Every time we've seen some sort of pause, Control C, Control V, we're going to move this up. Boom, it just busts through. Here we had another mini, a weak pause is nothing. But what we've had is boom, pause, it then spikes up. Boom, another pause. We're going to see another spiking up. So, like ages ago, I drew this line and it looks like issuance is going at a faster whack. But we're going to see a, a commencing of this when the government turns on. So so when T-bills start being issued, guess what happens? Dollar starts crashing, and then the market, and that then means equals risk on assets go up. What are risk on assets? Anything where people are gambling or trading or investing on stocks, bonds, commodities, real estate, and crypto. So when like tariffs, this I think we're yeah. When you mentioned the Chinese tariff thing, what did I say on Telegram? I was like, it won't be long before Trump goes, "Ah, President Xi and I had a nice chat and everything is all good." Well, tariffs are like pretty much sorted now. Um, I know there's some sort of like Venezuelan sort of um, amphibious show of force going on. So the US is doing this massive amphibious show of force. They've got like a battle group. They're doing all sorts of stuff. I think that this is just intimidation games with all the cartels down there. Um, but I guess the two big things that everyone is waiting for is Clarity Act. And the Clarity Act is basically where proper governmental framework is sort of rubber stamped and approved so that crypto operators know where the hell that they stand. Because the whole world of crypto is still reeling from the Biden administration, where they're like, right, if you're doing any form of crypto business, you're basically buggered in every way and expect a Wells notice. And a Wells notice is basically the SEC's intent to sue, but they don't tell you what you've done wrong. So they go, here's a Wells notice. And it's like, we're going to sue you, but we're not going to tell you what we're going to sue you on. So that's what crypto companies like, Coinbase and big companies like that, they're really worried about. The Clarity Act, the main thing there is that they're really defining what is a security, what is not, all that sort of stuff. And now a lot of it has already been sort of hashed out, but this is what everyone is really waiting for. And when we see that, we can see a crypto boom in terms of like infrastructure and all sorts of stuff. And then the other thing is the big, beautiful bill that Elon hated. And that is one of the biggest spending packages that we've ever seen. You know, what the ministry, not the Ministry of Defense, the Department of Defense is getting the biggest budget ever of any country that has ever had. Maybe not ever had, but it's what, $1 trillion budget now? So the Pentagon is going to get $1 trillion. So when the Clarity Act, and mainly when the big beautiful bill is passed and it starts kicking in, we're going to see even more spending, which then exacerbates everything over here. But more importantly, dollar, dollar die, dollar go down, crypto goes up, gold continues to go up. So this is the macro thesis why I really don't give a shit about this price action right now. Um, and so when we look at the dollar, yes, it's gone up because the government shut down. Normal service will resume, and a Bart Simpson right hand face will play out.